Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to another Wednesday night live stream. Thanks so much for tuning in. And also, before we start, just want to thank everyone for all of the. I know a pet is just a pet, but I want to thank everyone for all the condolences. That's been very sweet. House is very empty without her. But so today's video subject is not a political one. It's definitely can fall into the politicized topic because it's probably one of the biggest cover-ups in the history of like Vatican and government. Basically, we're going to talk about anything involved with Nephilim, Rephaim, Giants, and just before we begin, let me introduce you once again to my friend Jimuphy. Hey Jimuphy, how are you?
I'm very, very good, thanks, dear. It's a pleasure to finally get onto the show. I know the last time we had a nightmare, so
I was screaming at you.
I know,
not at you, but like, yeah.
All good, but hopefully we should be all set to go. And yeah, this is an interesting topic, isn't it?
Well, it is, and it's how you and I originally became connected. Just for those who don't know anything about this subject matter, I'm just going to quickly share my screen and read to you the Bible verse related to this subject matter so that people are aware, and then Jimmy and I can just get into it. So just for anyone who is not interested in the show today, this is not a political show, but today's subject matter is biblical but factual, I believe. Here we go. Genesis 6. And it came to pass, when man began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, and that they were fair, meaning beautiful, and they took them as wives, all of which they chose. Now, this is 300 angels of the designation of watchers. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. So when women started copulating with angels, God limited our age down to 120 years from what had previously been 900 or so years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men. When you come in unto, in the King James Version, that means sex. And they bare children to them, and they became mighty men. Mighty men meaning giants, men which were of old, men of renown. Renown means famous. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved his heart. Almost done. And the Lord said, I will destroy man, whom I have created, from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing.
Cool.
So, yeah, that is our origin story of angels and humans. So it's only happened once in history. Well, we've only got 9 watches because people really don't care about this subject. No one cares. But for those who are interested, it will be very full of substance. So originally there were female women, angelic beings, and they copulated, forming what is known as the giants, and it's never happened since. So how did you get into this subject? Why do you research it? And yeah, all of that.
Actually, before I go on to that, I just want to what version of the Bible were you reading there?
King James.
You was reading King James?
The original.
Right, okay, which is quite interesting because I'll go into why the King James Version doesn't include the original Hebrew word that should have been used. Okay.
Oh, I believe you. I believe that's the case with many translations. That's fine.
Right. So I'm just going to quickly just go over verse 4. So Genesis 6, verse 4. Listen to what how the NIV translates it. It says, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were heroes of old, men of renown. So in actual fact, what I'm trying to say is that the sons of God, or the giants, were specifically called Nephilim. Now, it's
that's
really,
fair.
yeah. So it's really important to make that distinction. And later on, the significance of that distinction will become pretty clear. But as for myself, you know what? I got into this purely by accident.
A rabbit hole, right?
Look.
For me, it's a rabbit hole.
It was one of those. I happened to be watching a video by Rob Skiba.
You like him?
Yeah, and he what I thought I was watching was a demonstration on the flood and Noah, and I had just seen Noah the movie, so I just
haven't even watched it.
It's put it this way, it's a huge departure from the actual.
Are you talking about the Russell Crowe version or the Christian film that they made in relation
to the Russell Crowe version?
Oh, okay, yeah, that wouldn't be accurate.
Yeah. So lo and behold, Rob Skiba starts talking about giants and how the combination, as you say, the act of angelic beings copulating with women produce these giant hybrids.
That was the Nephilim.
That was the Nephilim. Okay. And
keep talking. I'm just gonna, as you talk, I'm gonna put an image up on the screen.
And what he did basically was he went into great detail as to the significance of what that would mean for humanity and the punishment that was given to the angelic beings for what they did. So it's interesting that you should put up that on the screen. Now,
well, because the Nephilim are the one that are 36 feet tall. They're first. The ones towards the end of the Bible are the shortest ones.
Right. Now, there's a very good reason for that. Firstly, what was the reason why the angelic beings did this? I mean, you're talking about
sex, power.
Well, generation. Yeah, this was a rebellion. Like, I mean, the only other rebellion that we're aware of is Satan's rebellion. So basically, Satan was saying, "Look, I'm all powerful. I want to be worshipped, and quite frankly, I'm going to do this my way." Following on from
that, live with my friend, okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
So in addition to this, then you had what were called the Watchers, a group of angels who were given the job of, if you like, instructing humanity on just ways with which. Yeah, well,
watching us.
Yes, they were watching over it, but also they were given instructions to instruct us as to how we could live a better, how to make the most of the earth. But of course, 200 of them, they decided, no, we want to have offspring that are going to worship us. We like the idea of, we quite like the look of women, that's for sure. So, and quite frankly, man is made in God's image. Man is made in your image. We want something made in our image. So if we copulate with women, but also, they've decided after they've made a pact, all 200 of them basically said, look, we're all going to do this. We're going to make a pact. Otherwise, there's no bailing out. Once we do this thing, we've basically got to go through with it. And so they didn't it wasn't just a case of saying, okay, they're going to turn it back on God and mate with women. No, they wanted to corrupt the whole of creation. So
they did.
And they did. Now, so the question is, where are we getting this from? All right. So you've got the Bible. but you've also got this guy here. Can you see that?
That's an angel?
Yes.
Enoch, the book of Enoch. Yeah.
The book of Enoch, yeah. I was worried that it might be in reverse, but that's
Sorry,
the book
I
of
just saw an angel and I'm like, oh, because there is also a book known as the Book of Giants, which corroborates the book of Enoch.
Yes, indeed, absolutely.
And all the Bible verses. Hang on, I'll just show someone. I'm not cutting you off. I'm just doing another screen share. So these are all the verses in the Bible that relate to giants. Yeah, so there's a lot of them, like here. And the angels which kept not their first estate, left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains. So the angels that had sex with people, God punished them, and he like sent them in chains. So it's like this is a common theme throughout the Bible. So the Bible's message to us is about the sacrifice Christ made for our sins, but that doesn't mean other things aren't hinted.
Well, look, here's the thing. The big question around all of this is, what are the implications that run throughout the Bible? Well, firstly, we're talking about a defilement of creation. They wanted to subvert creation. They wanted also to subvert judgment, but clearly that wasn't the case. So firstly, in the first incursion, you had these hybrid beings called Nephilim, and then the Nephilim themselves also copulated with women. And then you've got what are called, I've got it written down here, you've got the Rephaim, and then you've got subsequent branches of the Nephilim as well that also then become the tribes of, if you like, hybrid human beings that pretty much take over the whole earth. Now, let's be clear what we're talking about. These were gigantic beings who had genetic markers of angels. They were extremely intelligent. Now, this is where
they were, and the angels passed down to them their knowledge. And this will sound stupid to people who are watching at home, but see how I'm wearing eyeliner. This was actually not part of. I know this sounds random. I know what I'm about to say. It wasn't part of God's plan for women or at all. Like, because the giants existed and the angels, all of that happened prior to the Egyptian kingdoms and that kind of stuff. So my point is that these angels taught these giants these codes life. One of them being eyeliner, I suppose, but like many others being abortion. Apparently, was taught by one of these angels, and opening horoscopes that we have today is a remnant, or is a remnant of these life codes from the past. The pyramids aligned with the Orion's belt, all of that stuff. We have borrowed, or we have as humanity taken from the giants, or taken from
the Nephilim.
The Nephilim or the fallen angels. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So actually, just to add to that, so just to give the viewers a picture of what we're actually looking at. So we're talking hybrid beings who then went on to become through angelic beings, mating with women, but then also animals as well. Absolutely right. It's extremely
centaurs.
Extremely important to understand that it wasn't just a case of they wanted to defile women per se. No, their thing was to defile the whole of creation altogether. And as a result of that, you've got these other, if you like, so you've got the fallen angels, you've got the Nephilim, and then the subsequent generations then became what are known as Rephaim. So you'll see in the Bible, you've got references to the Anakim, the Rephaim, the Horim, the Emin, the Zamzuzim, the Amalekim, and the Amorites, Hittites, Canaanites, which were on. See, what people don't realize that these were hybrid beings. Now that puts into question then, one of the things that non-Christians often say about God is that why? Because there is in 1 Samuel, I think if we can pull that up, 1 Samuel 15, There's a reference here that non-Christians often pull up, which is
Okay, hang on.
Yeah,
1 Samuel?
1 Samuel 15, verse 3. Yeah.
Let me see. All right. Okay, here we go.
Perfect.
So this is the King James Version. Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass.
Right.
I don't think that's referring to ex-boyfriends. I think that's referring to donkeys.
Oh, you had to go there, didn't you? All right. Well, you see, so often non-Christians will say, how could a God sanction the killing of men, women, and children? Well, then,
We're
well, now
giants.
they were giants. Now, you know what? When I was going through the whole learning curve, the big question for me is, why on earth weren't we taught this at school? But then, of course, the penny dropped as I started learning about how
It just makes sense.
The Nephilim, the Rephaim, has then proliferated throughout history, through the flood and after the flood, and then who they then became. Well, it becomes very, very evident that you know, the true nature of the Nephilim, the Rephaim, and this genetic marker that is actually on the earth even today.
Yes.
Why certain individuals or powers that be would want to keep that secret. But you know, we'll go into that a bit later. So, what are the characteristics of a Nephilim? Well, as Dear just pulled up earlier, if you want to pull up that picture again, the sizes of the different the giants.
Yes, sir.
They were basically huge in stature, extremely advanced. They're responsible, she said, for building the pyramids. But as a result of the crime that their fathers had perpetrated by turning their back on and pretty much defiling, they were cursed. So one of the curses was to the fallen angels was that your offspring, the Nephilim, would be at war with each other. So there you have it. So on the right-hand side, you've got the first incursion. In other words, when the first generation of Nephilim.
This was the first generation. So it's like my parents coming to Australia. I'm the first generation Australian. So the first ones are first generation. So then they found other ones like themselves and gave birth to whatever is behind it.
Right. And then, so you've got this.
And they got less and less, I suppose.
Right. So what's happened is God basically pronounced a judgment on them. And through visions and dreams, the Nephilim tribes, which had by now proliferated throughout much of the land, creating these huge megacities, they had received dreams that, look, firstly, you will destroy each other. Your fathers will watch you destroy each other. But more importantly, you will be wiped out, pretty much all but wiped out by a flood. So
435 died, or 435,000 died in the war of giants in the Book of Enoch. Is that accurate?
That is absolutely accurate. Yeah. And the thing is, they wanted to plead with God that he should take back the curse. Now, the only person that was around at that time who could intercede for them was Enoch. Enoch was said to be, you know, a godly man, close to God. And so they basically sent a petition to him to say, could you ask God to take the curse away from us? Enoch was taken up by an angel and given a vision that, to cut a long story short, under no circumstances the judgment was going to pass. They were going to be destroyed in a flood.
And
But
Jesus doesn't die on the cross for them because we are human beings. Jesus dies on the cross for us, and that's it. So they can't go to hell or heaven because they're unqualified, because they're not human. So they're just, when they die, they're just a roaming spirit across the earth. How shit.
and I think actually, in a bid to evade that punishment, they wanted to ensure that some would survive somehow. And this is where we get the drop in the
That
heart
happened.
of the Giants. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them survived. Okay, so the Russian bodies, for example, died in the war of the 400,000 or whatever because they couldn't die, their spirits basically lived on and became demons. Because that's a characteristic of being a Nephilim or a Rephaim. You can't physically die. Sorry, you physically die, but your spirit still lives on as a demon. So
well, the wages of sin is death for all. So that would include the Giants.
So their forefathers, however, they were an angel was sent by God to bind them in chains in Tartarus for, I believe it was 70 generations.
Yes, but you're not talking about Giants right now, guys. He's talking about the angels that committed the crime in the first place.
Right. So you've got the angels committed. So basically, there's two punishments.
Fallen angels, yeah.
The fallen angels, the forefathers were bound, and then the angels, the Nephilim themselves were consumed, all but consumed in the flood. Some did survive through Noah's Ark, actually. Some
survived. Yeah, they would have just gone for a swim.
In a roundabout way.
It'd be fine.
So okay. So then we got what's called the second incursion, because just before the flood, obviously realizing what was going to happen to them, you have the fallen angels then creating all manner of beasts. So that they've mixed mankind with animals. They've mixed animals even with plants, and they've created all these beasts that I actually believe, and I have evidence that the remnants of that are still with us today. But the question is, what happened how did the Nephilim survive the flood? And so there are many theories about that. One of the spiritual thing.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say that I just finished watching the series that I have on that subject. It's a 3-part series. I happened to interview one of the men in this series, Tim Alberino, Stephen Quayle, who works alongside him. And so they say that there are things known as a stargate or a spiritual portal. So it's very possible that because they were descendants of their angels who were parents who were angels, that they have the secrets to open up a portal to go into the earth. That then when the flood was over, some of them were able to come back out again. And so this is like, if you go to Peru or Bolivia or Sardinia or Malta, the island of Malta, and I'm sure there are other places, Egypt included, and the Aztec places, all of these apparent pyramids were actually built the pyramids were built not by humans. They were built by the giants, or at least that's what they say. Like, I could be wrong. I'm just parroting the words of the experts, but it sounds legitimate, because if you look at what the humans do with their brickwork and the mortar that holds it, and then you look at the other brickwork that there's no mortar, and that it's just like, it's like almost like they had a special technology that we don't have today, where you can make rock, like you can melt rock or something and just put it in place. It's pretty incredible. See if I can conjure up an image. Sorry, go ahead.
I've actually got something that I picked up from, I don't know if I can share it here.
Right.
This is actually from Timothy Alberino. Can I share this?
Yeah, I'll give it a whirl. Where is it? Is it the one that's ready there?
Yeah, it's a video. Can you? Oh, you can see it.
Okay, it's on your screen, so get it ready. Oh wait, is it? Yeah.
Of true legends.
Can't see anything.
Soldiers digging at Lompoc.
Okay, let's have a look.
You haven't. You've got it on us.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's have a look.
So get out of that. You won't see it. You won't see us. I can't. Where's your? Do you have a? Is it a downloaded image? What is it?
Yeah, it's actually a video.
Yeah, but there's nothing in the tab on your internet.
Oh, I see. No, it's actually an app. So it's I'm trying to share off the app. Okay, that's all right. I'll leave that for now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll leave that for now. Okay.
Oops. Sorry. Go ahead.
So okay, yeah. That actually makes a lot of sense. And I've heard Timothy and Steve Quell mention the Stargates. In fact, they actually went out to Bolivia. Actually, Tim stayed out. He's a lunatic. He actually stayed out overnight in front of one of those Stargates. Okay.
I did not know that.
No, he's a lunatic. This guy camped out in front of a known Stargate. Okay. And you've got the natives, actually, the locals are actually saying to him, dude, you might not want to do this because people have been known to actually disappear overnight, basically. So anyway, Timothy being Timothy decides, no, he's going to have some of this. Anyway, by sort of 11 o'clock that night, that evening, a tremendous thunderstorm, literally, that was just over his tent, wasn't anywhere else, basically engulfs him. And he talks about, experiencing all sorts of spiritual unrest and what have you else. The whole place was totally fogged up. He couldn't, great. He couldn't, that's it there. That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, so this one here, I just double clicked. Okay, hang on. Okay, so let's just click that image. So look at, crap, I didn't even do that. Hang on. Let me go back and back in there. See here how each rock looks, to see where my mouse is and the hand is there. And then all of a sudden here, this little diagonal bit, it still fits into that bit. And then you go across here and then like it all fits perfectly. Like humans can't do this. No human is capable of this at all. Like it's just not possible. We don't do, like it's just not a thing that's happened. And then if you look at this one here, look how flat that is. It's just,
and look at the angle of the wall. It's slanted. Look at the size of the rock boulders. Look at the size of the actual the stones compared to the human beings. I mean, who could live? So clearly, what you're seeing here is evidence that there clearly was a race or a hybrid race who were of a gigantic. I mean, if you look at the picture of the 30-footer, you could see that guy. That 30-foot guy lifting up one of those boulders. But the other thing,
look how big that is.
That's
bigger than her. Look at her where she is. And look how much bigger that is.
But clearly, also they were using technology to put those.
Yes, which they'd gotten from their angel parents.
100%.
Look, here it is again. This is in Egypt. It's just crazy. Like, it's stupid to think that humans were that advanced during
and
the beginning times.
Believe it or not, there's evidence of these megalithic constructions all over the world, including even here in Australia. I've been in New South Wales to a place called Frog Rock, and it's incredible. There's this huge megalith that has been deliberately shaped as a rock. These using massive rock boulders. We haven't got the cranes to be able to lift something like that, nor have we got the skill to fashion and shape up the rocks in the manner that they've done. Clearly, there's secret technology that's been handed down to them that had enabled them to do that. If you look at our constructions, over time, we've used smaller and smaller bricks and certainly far more primitive designs in our constructions. So clearly, this notion, for example, that our ancestors weren't as intelligent at us. I'm afraid that's another deception to hide the true nature of our past and the Nephilim.
Well, the biggest cover-up in history is the cover-up of history.
The cover-up of history, indeed.
Yeah, and that's not my line. I got that from Stephen Quayle. It's very true. And this is, I think, part of, now this is where it does get political, because this is part of, like, for those who are not aware, there's a big museum known as the Smithsonian. It's not just a museum, it's an institution. It's an organization that works alongside the American government, probably the Vatican, probably all Luciferian institutions, probably the Illuminati, probably the Freemasons. They all work together, cover up biblical narratives that, you know, that corroborate this earth, and it's pretty scary. And if you watch the documentary that I watched, I should probably add the link in the description so that people can buy it. You will see that every single time giant bones are found, hang on, I'm gonna just share the screen again. Every single time giant bones are found, they are actually disappear. Why do they have to disappear? You can talk. You can. I mean, no, you're.
I disagree with you. No, I'm joking.
I'm bang on the money, mate.
No, you're spot on. I think, though, it's interesting that to be able to make the connection between the Smithsonian and then what happened post flood. So, okay, so you get the flood, which washes out the large majority of the Nephilim, but as we quite rightly have said, certainly even after Genesis, there's clearly evidence that these tribes did survive. Yeah, and not only did they survive, but they went on to become, as I say, the very significant tribes that, for example, Joshua and Caleb came across and were instructed to deal with. I think, what's the scripture that's right, Numbers, can you pull that up? Numbers 13:33. So this is
here it is. Yes, I will. That's a great quote. Well done.
So this is after
You're
the flood.
Good guest.
Yeah. So this is after the flood. The Nephilim tribes have obviously survived, but they've now continued on. There's another strategy at play now. Clearly, you know, the 30-foot giants, that's not going to work. So now, So now through should we say, infiltrating our cultures, human culture, they've managed to basically get a stronghold. But even still, God decided that no, you know, they need to be wiped out, because here's the thing.
They were evil.
And also the Savior.
They ate us. They ate humans.
Exactly. But also the Savior is coming. And the Savior cannot have a defiled bloodline. And so this is where, you know, certainly Moses has sent out the troops to go out into the land to find land that would be suitable for the Israelites. But of course, they find something that they weren't quite expecting. Do you want to read that out?
I can do that. Excuse me. Numbers 13:33. And there we saw the giants, sons of Anak, which come of the giants. And we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. That's how huge they were. They felt like they were grasshoppers among them.
Indeed. Now, again, if you look at the megaliths that the deer has just shown, you look at the biblical scriptures, and also, you know, what I call the historical text, okay? Because, you know, we have history books
extra biblical.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And it's clear to see that this is very much a prominent and significant part of our history. So why are we, you know, why is this being kept away from us? What is it about our current reality that still needs to have this that part of our history hidden. Could it be that the bloodline of the Nephilim, Rephaim, and whatever else is still in existence today? And I think maybe
Yes, of course it is.
this
No
is
shit. That's why some people are so randomly big. Also the giants raped women. Women died. They got, they were broken in half. I know that sounds rude to say. I'm not trying to be vulgar. Team Alberino says that the Phoenicians, who are descendants of the Canaanites, were the only human beings on Earth who had good masonry skills, good pottery, good all of that stuff. So they sort of carried on a little bit. You know how people talk about race preservation a lot?
right.
Kind of preserved a little bit of the culture that was left behind of the giants. And this sounds very conspiratorial. I know a lot of Christians who don't like this subject. They think it's wrong. They think we're wrong. Well, it doesn't affect my salvation. It doesn't affect their salvation, so they don't have to concern themselves. But this is the stuff that the Bible references. It references the book of Enoch. It references the book of Jasher. It references the book of Jubilees. So we know that the Bible references it as well. So keep going.
But you see, it's the joke about that as well is that even Jesus Christ himself made a point of saying, do not be deceived. There is a deception coming. And that deception clearly is the fact that there is a bloodline that's looking to proliferate, overtake humanity, but also to convince humanity to do what? To worship their God. And who's their God? Satan. You see,
you're so on it. Yeah, this is a theory of how Revelation will come about, and the Antichrist will probably come down on a UFO or something.
Well,
this is a theory.
Well, look.
I just watched it in the doco before I spoke to you. I just saw it in the doco before I spoke to you. That we will worship this alien that comes down from Earth, who was probably the Antichrist, because we're like, oh well, humanity, we haven't been able to rely on ourselves. Maybe this extraterrestrial being that looks like a human will be able to save us, and he's going to be great for 3.5 years, and then he'll fuck up the world.
Well, here's the thing. I know there are a lot of people who subscribe to that, and they could be right. But here's the thing.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
There are those who are around today who believe that they are connected to the bloodline of the Nephilim and are protecting who they believe is
very few are
the Antichrist that will come from their bloodline. So if I can just read, for example, here, okay. You've got a noble class of Nephilim who believe that they're the pure bloods or blue bloods. So they believe they can trace their bloodlines back to the Nephilim prehistory and therefore the fallen angels. They do.
The anti-deluvian ones.
Absolutely. And
that's silly. They all go back to the anti-deluvian ones. They don't go back to the humans, Adam and Eve. So that's a bit odd of an odd thing to say. But yeah, fair enough.
But what I think what you've got going on here is that through you go as far back as say the post-flood, and you go as far back as say someone like Nimrod, who created the Tower of Babel.
Tower of Babel.
Right. Okay. So his thing there basically was they believe, for example, Freemasons believe that he was the father of the whole Masonic spirituality, if you like, and that from there the dark arts and the will to want to subvert God's power, okay, started. And that what they've done is they've broken up themselves into various different families with the whole idea of keeping their true identities a secret until the 70 generations time span is up. Now, there are
which has been up for the last
120 years.
Oh, that's scary, dude.
So it means that for the last 120 years, the fallen angels that were bound have now been released, and they're now free to work with their agents, the people who class themselves as having the genetic bloodline, to now then see the final showdown with God. So here's a list of the kind of
I
organizations.
hate what you're saying.
I know it's, but you
I
know,
don't want the world to end soon. I want it to end like in another 40,000 years. But it's sorry. Everyone knows that watches me that I hate the Book of Revelations, and it scares the hell out of me. It's a scary subject to me. It makes me cry if I think about it too much. I hate the end of the world subject. Sorry, keep going.
The funny thing is that I know so many Christians who not only do they dislike this topic, but they won't touch Revelation. But
I'm touching it with you. I just hate it.
Just do me a favor. Just pull up Revelation, first Revelation chapter, verse 1, because there's an important point there. Why Revelations is extremely important for all Christians, for everyone, and it kind of First Revelations 1.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Here it is. Oh no, I don't like this website. I'll use this one instead. Yeah, I just get depressed. It's a depressing subject, but I'm still touching it. I just don't love it.
Well, you know what? You've done better than most. I have to say, most, especially female Christians. I don't know what it is. They hate it. They think it's
scary. I genuinely used to cry at thinking about the concept of the end of the earth. Like just thinking about it, my head in. Here we go. Okay, so this is King James Version. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him, to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servants. So why did you want me to read that verse? I don't understand.
Okay, so go on to 2. So Revelation 1, and then the next verse after that.
Unto the angel of the earth of Ephesus write, these things saith he that holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand, who walketh in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks.
Let me stop you there. So it's Revelation 1, but the second verse.
Oh, so did I just go to Revelation? Is that the wrong verse?
Yeah, you've gone on to the second chapter. Yeah, so you want to go to Revelation 1:2.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
Who bear record of the word of God and of the testimony of Jesus Christ and of all things that he saw.
And then the next one, 3.
Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. You want to go to 4?
No, that's it. But check it out. Blessed is he. This is the only part of the Bible where whoever reads it is actually a blessing. You actually get a blessing if you take the time out to read it, because the time is at hand. So, and again, this is one of those things that's kept away from Christians. Why would you not want to get the blessing? Why would you not want to study that which comes at hand? Everything about, look, you go into Revelations, but I think Revelations 13, where it talks about, the mark of the beast. So here's the thing: if you're a Christian and you don't know not to take the mark of the beast, you're doomed. And there is a deception.
Sorry, that's $2. I have to put it up on the screen because I don't want to lose it. That's Roots Calhoun. He's American. He's a proud boy.
Mr. Calhoun, love the name Calhoun. but yeah, so look, it's crucial, but it's interesting to note that I mean Jesus made a point of explaining that the Nephilim, that he was aware that some of the scribes and Pharisees were of a particular bloodline. he was aware of that, and that we should be aware of it. So it's not just a case of, oh, this is myth, this is whatever else. I mean, if we fast forward today, these are the kind of there are custodians or guardians of the truth.
Are you going to answer the question about the about his Sasquatch uncle?
Sasquatch. Don't know anything about it.
You know what Bigfoot is?
Yeah, I do. Here's the thing. We talked about the mixing of animals and human beings, and you know what? It's quite possible that that's a remnant of. I definitely. Do you know what? Ask him if he's heard about.
Sorry, Bering is watching me. Hey, Bering! Ever since my cat died, you've been. This is like one of the biggest Australian YouTubers. It's like over 500, 600,000. Hey, it was more interesting than Robinson Crusoe. Bering, you got to give my channel a shout out on your channel. That'd be nice. And I think your cat's cute, Bering. Sorry?
I think everyone should give you a shout out. I think because you've got to be the only female who's actually doing this sort of stuff in Australia anyway, from what I understand. You mean?
I'm a unique young lady. So keep going. Okay, back to subject.
Right. So for those who might be interested in this, these are the organizations who secretly believe they've got a connection with the Nephilim bloodline. So you've got the Knights Templar, Freemasons, the Illuminati, the Jesuits, the Rosicrucians, and these are apparently kind of the guardians of they've been guarded, I should buy. Sorry?
Guardians of cover-ups?
Well, they sort of guard the truth. They do everything possible to keep the truth away from the rest of humanity, but at the same time, they empower certain key families who these families are then connected politically. So, for example, the Rothschilds, absolutely, the Wahlbergs,
all the Jewish families.
Did you say what you said?
Not allowed to say that. I said all the Hebrew families. But it's not just them. It's Hillary Clinton. She's not. No, it's the Vatican, the evil Catholic Church. I think Catholicism is ridiculous. I think they're evil.
Well, I mean, again, it goes back to the question, why are we keeping this crucial information that we should be? Look,
I know why, but keep going.
When was the last time you went to a church? Actually, there's only one pastor that I know who actually covered this sort of stuff. Pastor Charles from the US. Who else is there?
His name is Steve Chocolante. He's a Thai pastor, but he preaches here near. I'm not going to tell anyone. Like, I'm not going to. Sorry.
He's in Australia.
Yes, he's in Australia, and he's in the southeastern suburbs, like further. Like I don't know. I'm not good at geography, but yeah, like he's not too far away. And
100%. I'll be checking him out. 100%. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but look, I met the guy, and I've been to his church, and I wasn't. He's too. I shouldn't say it on camera. He's lovely. If you don't have anything nice to say about a fellow Christian, look, I'm a Christian. I believe in God, but I don't like Catholicism. I don't like these cover-ups. And the reason you said, why are we not being told about this information? That's why Christianity is indeed persecuted. And if the whole world figured out that the Bible was somehow corroborated through archaeology, through these giants, then they can't bring about their own world order or globalism or whatever the hell their thing is.
No, I think you've nailed it with that. And that's for anyone who's watching, that's what this is about. That's why there's this massive cover-up. So look, here's the thing. Myself and Deal, we've done our due diligence, we've done our own research, and we've come into our own conclusion. And we're continually learning. You guys have got to do exactly. You guys have got to do exactly the same. You've got to do your own research. You've got to you know, go all out to uncover the truth. Because listen, mainstream educational authorities or even mainstream Christianity is not going to cover this for the very reasons that Dia pointed out. There is an agenda against us, and so keeping this away from I mean, it's just shocking. I find it difficult actually going to some churches when I know, for example, here's a really good one. I've heard many priests
Yeah.
talk about, you know, it was that 1 Samuel 15 where, you know, they talk about, oh, kill every, you know, man, woman, and child. And the explanations that they give for what that means, absolutely ludicrous. Like if you was an atheist, you're not going to buy that explanation whatsoever. Why not tell people the truth? We're dealing with...
Because the truth sounds stupid. Do you know how stupid we probably sound to the atheists watching us, or to the non-religious people, or to even other Christians? You and I do sound stupid because they don't believe there was such a thing as giants. They don't believe, let alone that there's angels having sex with humans. That just sounds moronic. It doesn't sound genuine. I believe it because it's been backed up by a level of archaeological finds that have been covered up, and I do believe that we were created. I don't believe that we just came out of thin air. We do sound insane, and if they back us up with their own with the archaeology, then we look more sane, and so that's why they cover it up, because it's easier to bring about their agenda when we look stupid. And we sound stupid. I'm aware of it. I'm aware this whole episode sounds and looks stupid, and in fact I might not even be able to keep this episode up on this channel for too long. I might have to transfer it over to my BitChute account. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
Look, I think that certainly truth is being attacked at this moment in time. But again, I say to everyone out there, go ahead. Look, when I first came across this, I mean, look, it took me a few weeks for this to settle. I mean, my goodness.
Same.
But when you start looking
it's an exciting rabbit hole.
Keep
talking. I just want to grab something. Keep talking.
Sure. When you look at the archaeological evidence, you look at the scientific evidence, and then you understand that the fallen angels who rebelled, they have an objective, and even though they've been dealt a blow, they're still looking to carry out that objective. So there's certain aspects about our life today which still mirror that objective. For example, transhumanism, you know, mixing, you know, wanting to have humanity merge ourselves with, there you go, True Legends, wanting to have humanity.
This is number one. Keep going, keep
talking.
talking.
I'm devastated because I actually had that and lost it.
Oh, I can give it to you. I can give it to you and you can burn it if you want.
That she didn't mean that, Tim. She meant that she was going to give it to me to buy.
To buy. You've already bought it. That's these are fantastic. You can only get them online. These are true ufologists. I'm so glad I bought these. Best money I ever spent. Sorry, keep going.
No, and what Dee's got there, basically the work that was done by Steve Quill, Timothy Alberino, who have actually gone out to the various sites around the world, from South America, Native America, Sardinia, Europe, and also all the way out to Egypt,
Peru,
Bolivia, where you know the megaliths that were clearly constructed by beings not entirely human, advanced beings,
hybrids, but not human.
Human hybrids. Right, okay. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm fully aware that there are other people who believe that aliens basically landed from Earth. The only problem with that hypothesis is that it totally negates that there is a spiritual element. And
exactly, and you also, and I are Christians, so we're only ever going to see the spiritual element. I just saw my cat die yesterday right in front of me. I saw the spirit leaving her body. I know that sounds dumb, but if someone's ever lost a parent or a loved one and you see them from living then dying, you can't deny that the spirit has left the body. Like, you know what I mean?
Indeed.
Anyway.
Indeed. But also the other thing I've realized, and many people realized who first jumped onto this subject, is, oh my gosh, God is real. Then that the whole
Uh-huh.
biblical narrative, it's real. It's not fake. That was enough to
No.
turn me to Christianity, which clearly I can
What
see
made you a
some of them.
Christian?
Oh, I am indeed. Yes.
No, but that's sort of what made you become a Christian, that rabbit
Oh,
hole.
it cemented it. It
Oh,
cemented it.
that's so good. I love that. People usually become a Christian because it's like, oh, Jesus died on the cross for my sins, and that's a great reason to become a Christian. It's so good to come to that red pilling moment in a different. So you became red pilled politically and a Christian all at once because you saw the cover ups and then you found out what Christ did for you. That's so good. I love that. That's fabulous.
Well, let's look at what Christ did for me, because I suddenly realized then, or became aware that the fact that Christ's appearance was definitely to ensure that that diluted bloodline wouldn't totally dilute the whole entire human race. Jesus turning up ensured that there at least would be still a pure bloodline that would then still enable our salvation. So because
Jesus isn't pure. Jesus' bloodline is far from pure. He has a prostitute named Rahab in his bloodline. He has lots of different humble. What makes Jesus fantastic is that he doesn't come from a pure, noble bloodline. He was born where cows drink their milk. Like, he was born in the most humblest of places. That's what makes him amazing, because he can be the king to the highest of kings and to the shittest of people, like you and I.
No. Look, to a degree, I can see where you're coming from. I think I'm more talking about the spiritual implications of Jesus Christ dying.
Sorry.
The Jesus Christ coming, defeating death, and basically saying that, okay, whereas the Nephilim and the fallen angels, they've forfeited their ultimate salvation, ultimate everlasting life. Human beings, we can still have that. So even though they've tried to corrupt the human race by turning against God, and also causing us to sin, when Jesus arrived on the scene, it was a slap to them, because Jesus basically was saying, well, I'm taking on their sins. They can still have the everlasting life, but you will never. And regardless of what you do from here on, through transhumanism or this, that, and the other, on even, tricking people into taking the mark of the beast, you're doomed. And that's another reason why looking at Revelation shouldn't be like something that you find scary. It's a blessing, because it's actually proved that, you know what, as bad as things are going to get, the end is Jesus and humanity wins. Jesus Christ has won the day. Well, he's already won the day for us. It's a bit like when the Nephilim first found out about their fate. They did everything possible to try and ask, oh, please forgive us, or do this and do that. They built the pyramids possibly to hide in. They built the underground caves that you see out in Europe. Possibly.
I think they did the pyramids to rule over the humans. They wanted to be idolized by the Egyptians and all that kind of stuff. But so this brings me to another subject that's political, but that still relates to what we're talking about. So for those who are not religious and who are atheists and all of that, don't you think, whether they agree with our theories or not, that all of this, which is biblical as well, don't you feel like there's a chance that in the last, say, just 15 years, I don't even think, maybe the last 20 years of life that I've lived, don't you think it's become extremely obvious that the political correctness has gone insane, and that's completely part of trying to water down male, female, trying to water down gender, trying to water it all down so that it can bring about the end faster, because everything's become confused. Literally everything's become confused, and God created an order. Man marries woman, has child, and that's it. That's the order.
Absolutely. And wasn't that the original objective of the fallen angels? They want to create disorder. They wanted
exactly.
Right. They wanted to undermine everything that stood for God's creation. In fact, they wanted to destroy God's image in us. That's why
You're so right.
this whole,
we are created in God's image.
Everything. Yeah, exactly. So
But so when a transgendered person changes themselves, or when a person pretends, oh, I'm actually a cat, and they get the whiskers shoved in their face and whatever the hell, they are confusing what God already made. Or if you're not a Christian, they are confusing Mother Nature, and they are confusing everything. And this way, if you involve it in politics, you get a confused world of immoral people. You get people marrying, at the moment it's man with man, woman with woman. Soon it'll be man and woman, and then it'll be man and man and man. They'll change it from a pair to triples and to more. Then it'll become bestiality. Then it'll become intergenerational, where a 12-year-old's allowed to marry a 60-year-old. Like, where is the limit? And this is the only, people go, oh, well, you hate gay people. Well, no, I don't want it to get further, and it has gotten further. Exactly what the Christians thought would happen has happened.
Right. And again,
that's all part of fallen angels.
What was their objective? What was their original objective? And what is so it's a total coincidence that we have that objective being revisited upon the human race again? We
need another flood.
We've got well, I mean, because he promised us he wouldn't.
He wouldn't do that again.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the rainbow represents.
That's
the gays
right.
know that, so that's why they use the gay rainbow flag. He won't flood us again.
Are you looking to get your channel?
No, I'm going to delete this video in a couple days. It's going to be up on my BitChute account, so it's okay. People can revisit this information if they need to. I don't want my channel taken down because of giants.
In that case, I'm making a disclaimer. The views of Dia's guests are not necessarily their particular views.
Yeah.
After the show.
Yeah, I'm the one that says we need a flood. I'm the one that says the gays have co-opted the flag.
But look, I mean, yeah. So look, go and do your research. Go and do your research. Go check out this subject. And you know what? As Dia says, you will fall into a rabbit hole. Trust me. It doesn't.
Rabbit hole cost me $90. It's a great rabbit hole if you have no time on your hands.
But honestly, it's helped me to make more sense out of the confusion that I'm seeing at the moment. And I'll look at the objectives of the fallen angels and exactly what they. I mean, even if you look at the Tower of Babel, where things got to the point where God said, you know something, if I don't cause confusion through languages, there is nothing that there is nothing that they won't do. In other words, they would have fast-tracked the destruction of this earth, and sort of replace or undermine creation with their version of creation a long time ago. But clearly they haven't given up yet.
Yeah. Would you mind taking audience questions now? Because you and I have spoken a lot and shown off our knowledge, but I want us, or you in particular, to answer audience questions. Apparently there was already one above, but I missed it. I might not be able, because I'm using StreamYard, so I can't go all the way up. Sure. Sometimes you lose the questions. So let me see if I can locate the question, unless my moderator can copy it and paste it again. But
is that Margaret? Is it Margaret Hass?
Yes, Marg. I know you. Yeah, you've met her.
Hello, Marg.
She's all right. Hang on.
Oh gosh.
Okay, I can't find the question, but if anyone has any questions, pop it up on the screen and we'll put it there. But yeah, it's really funny because just Steve Ogan just sent me a message. I don't really think that's how it works, Dusty. Here we go. Question: do you incorporate this giant stuff with the DJ equipment in the background?
Why don't you just say that? Because we did have an idea that maybe I should do a 2-minute DJ set first.
We did. That was a good idea.
So there's your question. Maybe next time. It's Ash Wednesday.
Maybe next time. It's Ash Wednesday. Any Christians in the chat refrain from eating meat for the day? I don't know what that's referring. What's Ash Wednesday? Is that a Catholic thing?
It is a very much Catholic thing, yes.
Oh, that's why I don't know what it is, because I'm no Catholic. All right, hang on. This is Margaret asking a question. King of James, can I ask? Oh, sorry, that's not to you. I don't think that's to you, so I'll just ignore that. Sorry. Since you're taking this down, may I ask? Yes, Bearing, ask an offensive question, and I will place this video. This will all be up on my BitChute account. Is it about him being black?
So it might be about you being white. Might be about you being white.
About you being black. I was making a joke. I can joke that way with you because we're friends.
Well, is this
I love you.
Is this an unusual? I made a black T-shirt. Come on, you know.
Sorry. I love your black T-shirt. It's beautiful. Well, apparently, that question was for you. It just wasn't obvious to me because she wrote King of James. All right. So, why is the Great Pyramid the greatest construction on Earth not mentioned in the Bible?
It's a really, really good point. Clearly, I think there's question marks over how old the pyramid actually is. That's
That's true.
That's the first thing. You know what? There was a reference to building some sort of construction in the middle of the earth to God or something like that. You know what? The reference escapes me, but you know something. It's quite possible that the pyramid, because you got to ask yourself a question: if the pyramids weren't created by God, okay, then they were obviously created by the Nephilim. The pyramids, from my studies, they were really a construction that was basically trying to say, look at us, look how intelligent we are, we're really, really powerful. You know, this was an egotistical construction. This thing basically contains every scientific measurement, from the golden the golden number to the Pythagoras. Whoever built that was clearly showing up and sticking two fingers up to God.
Yeah.
So that's probably the reason why it's not in the Bible. But I think maybe it's something in Isaiah. I think that's where it is. There's something in Isaiah that says that are, you know, your great constructions, which are, you know, supposed. You know, I'd love to find out what it is, but I think that's the reason. The reason is that it wasn't a construction made by God.
Well, I mean, yeah, I suppose, but like this, during the times of the Bible, there were other civilizations as well. So, I find it an unusual question, but still relevant.
Well, I mean, if you look at the megalith that you picked up, where's the pyramid was? Well, do we know that the pyramids are the greatest construction ever? We're still finding out things over in China. China is littered with pyramids. Littered.
And they deny God. They deny anything like that. Even though, if you look at their oral history, the anthropology of their people, their oral history related directly to Noah. Other Chinese atheists have told me that. Did you know that this is? I'm like, I didn't know that. So a lot of the oral history, say the Native American oral history. I don't know about the Australian Indigenous oral history, but a lot of these people have giants or based foundations in their oral history. I know I'm right. This is what the atheists don't take into account as evidence, which was why we look stupid. Just Roots Calhoun, we did answer the question. We did say that Sasquatches are believable based on the fact that the angels corrupted certain animals and that the Sasquatch could be descendants. I'm not really sure why you're questioning that again, because we already answered that for you. But yeah. Do you know what makes me sad right now? Sometimes randomly you'll see my cat walking past in the background. She's just having a good day. No one will ever see my cat doing that again. Anyway, okay, here we go. So you think the pyramids were similar to the Tower of Babel then? I don't. What do you think?
No, absolutely not. I actually alluded to you. I think that the pyramids also, they were a symbol. Well,
firstly, like the ones in Bolivia, or the Egyptian ones? What are you referring to?
Oh,
Are you referring to all pyramids?
I think I'm referring to all pyramids, but I suppose
Okay.
for the purposes of this, let's talk about the Pyramid of Giza. We're talking about a monument that not only was it, no, I don't just think it was there to show. I also believe because it stood the test of time. I actually believe that it was there to hide or to safeguard some of the Nephilim. Because here's the thing: once the judgment was clear that it was going to be passed, I'm talking about the flood. Listen, if that was you, and you've heard that a great flood was coming, what's the first thing you're going to do? You either want to build a monument that is so high that you could, that you could hide in. And be fair, that thing was impregnable, literally. What, 4,000 years onwards, it's still here.
Except that it's just changed. It used to be white and smooth and it used to shine, and now it doesn't do that. But yeah, you're not wrong about that.
Just before I move on, actually, but now as for the Tower of Babel,
just looking for more questions. All right.
But as for the Tower of Babel, I think that's something different. I think that's Nimrod, who was basically, it was Nimrod who, what he was trying to do there was corrupt what was left of humanity after the flood. Because literally less than some people say 70 years after the flood, Nimrod then turns up with the Tower of Babel to basically say, look, from here on, we're going to recreate society. So really, the Tower of Babel possibly is the father of the societies that we live in today.
Well, it is, because all of the languages got mixed up, but everyone agrees, all the anthropologists agree, whether they're religious or not, that some cataclysm, flood happened, and all these societies had to start over. So the Chinese, the Aztecs, the Mayans, I don't know about Aboriginals again. I should know more about our own people here. All of that all started from a flood. Everyone agrees that there was a flood. No one knows why there was a flood, but everyone agrees there was a flood.
But also, it's worth noting that Babel was not the only city that Nimrod built. He built several of them. He was known for that.
Oh, okay. This was the oh no, I don't like blasphemous questions. How was Joseph not the world's biggest cuck? Oh, okay, God impregnated you. Okay, we can't F until after you do the virgin birth. No worries. Oh, that's a horrible question. Well, she needed to give birth. You know what, though? As bad as this sounds, it would hurt more. Her birth would have hurt more because her hymen wasn't broken. It might have been better if he did own her so that it was looser. I don't know. So anyway, would you have an answer for that?
Yeah, I do. With all due respect to Bearing, what that question shows.
He's a nice guy. He's trying to be funny. I think.
No. Again, but what that question just shows how little we truly understand. I mean, we're literally we're so infantile in terms of our knowledge of.
But he's asking the question.
No, he's asking. Nothing wrong with the question, but what it does.
No, but you have to educate him. He's asking, knowing it was offensive, knowing that we're Christians. He's asked it.
No, I'm not offended by that. I'm absolutely not offended at all. But what it shows how little, how in terms of our intellect, we've gone so far back. We have absolutely, most people are walking around with absolutely no inclination of the spiritual world that they live in. We have been so far.
This didn't happen in the spiritual world. Mary got impregnated on earth, not in heaven.
But it was an immaculate conception, though, wasn't it?
Of course.
Right. So okay. So you know. So clearly there was a supernatural. This was a supernatural event that took place. One that goes beyond. Here's the thing. we don't have the mental capacity to understand that now, and that's why 2/3 of the world is going down.
Well, I suppose, but I mean, I feel like I could answer the question just by saying that he still wanted to honor her virginity, so he waited for her to give birth, and he waited to get married under the general tradition before he started having his own kids with her, because people don't realize that Jesus himself had brothers and sisters, half siblings, one of whom wrote one of the books of the Bible. So also Joseph knew that his wife was impregnated by the father because an angel came to him in a dream. So yeah,
Good stuff.
it's nothing to do with intellect. I want to F my wife. Why didn't Joseph? He did. He just waited until he was allowed, because of God created order. Man, wife, woman, and he didn't want it to be out of order. Let's see if there are any other questions. Question. Is the rainbow flag or the Illuminati symbol current symbol of the Revelations? I don't think we can all know. I don't think we can know that.
Absolutely have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like answering questions though. When are you getting married? When I have a man who is strong on every level. Stop it! You're a divorcee. The Bible.
I've never been married in my life. What are you talking about?
Dude, it's so obvious you have a crush on me.
What's this
So
next
obvious.
question, Jimuphy?
Okay, hang on. What is the guest's favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme film? You always ask the same question to everyone. You have a favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme film?
Who's Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Oh, stop it. I'm younger than you. Don't make me feel old, you prick. He's far from a Nephilim. He's like a little midget. He's like a little midget French man. I think he's shorter than Avi Yemeni.
I thought you were talking about me for a second there. I was going to say.
That's funny. This is a good question. Are you going to vote for the big white hope? So if you were in the United States, would you vote for Trump? I would.
No comments.
Oh, interesting. I would. I wouldn't have originally. As I've told everyone before, my favorite was Dr. Ben Carson. He's the black man with the eyes that he never opens, and he talks like he's really lazy. He's super smart. At the moment, I don't know what's happening in the Republican what's the word? Primaries. I haven't seen a single thing. Everyone's talking about the Democratic primaries, but I don't know what's happening in the Republican ones, because I lean right. Although I did like a woman in the Democratic Party, the one Hillary Clinton really hated. What was her name? The only sensible one. Tulsi Gabbard. She would be my choice for the Democratic pick if I had to choose a Democrat.
Right.
So let's go up. I'm so excited that, we went from 9 people to 32, one of whom was Barry.
We've got 32 people.
Yeah. This is a subject matter that I honestly thought this was a subject matter that would go like this on people, because you have to really be into this subject to enjoy the subject. And most Christians look down on it. So obviously we're here, and not all Christians are here who don't believe it. Some Christians are open enough to it, and then we're just insane to the rest.
It's either that or they just like seeing your face, dear.
I doubt it. By the way, anyone who's curious as to why, I'm not doing it this way like I normally would, is because little princess here didn't like the close-ups, so I had to sort of.
No.
All right. Here we go. Here seems like a good question. Do your views of the Nephilim equate with the 72 archontic demons of the, I don't even know what this means, commanded by Solomon to build the Jewish temple? See, I need to learn more about my own Bible, because I've never heard of that.
Absolutely. Look, this is a vast subject for which,
for sure.
For which many different tribes basically, if you like, found their way. it's one of these ones where basically I know that the Nephilim are often referred to as archons. In fact, I've actually got that written down on my list here.
I should have brought some water with me.
Look, the answer to that question is for sure. I think that
What do you mean?
I don't. Here's the thing. I don't really want to get into the whole Jewish thing because I said that to you previously before. But
hey, you're talking to someone who gets bullied by my live chat for not hating Jews. I don't hate any group of people, and I never will.
Right. But let's just say that there's no area of our society that where the bloodline has not infiltrated. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. All right, someone just wrote something really funny. No, not that. Shit, it keeps moving. Any relationship to the 72 virgins? No, this has nothing to do with Islam. What a nice God the Islamic God is if every single man gets 72 female virgins. What do the women get if they're perfect? Do they get 72 virgin men? Yeah, shut up! Anyway, so this is another question. What's Jimuphy's views on masturbation? Is he like me and likes to knock the top off? Answer. No, don't answer. That's rude. We're supposed to be better than that, aren't we? Because we're supposed to be good Christians. Sorry?
Is the world a DJ filled with drug addicts and degenerates? Yes.
If God is a DJ, life is a dance floor.
Absolutely. It's good to see so many questions on topic coming through. It's great.
That's always what happens, though. People are interested in other things too, you know. Okay, let's keep going down. See if there are any other questions.
Clearly.
The very first marriage that failed was a lesbian couple. I'm still waiting to see the woke backlash. The very first marriage that ever failed was a lesbian couple? Really? Who was the first lesbian couple to get married? Or is he joking? Let's see this one. Dean! My husband! Where are you going to do a Q&A with Caring? Same style as your Lionhelm video. Did I do a Lionhelm video? I did do a video with Lionhelm. And if Bering wants me to do a Q&A with him, I'd do it. Let's see what else. He said he'll do it. Cool. All right, hang on. Oh, on Married at First Sight. Sorry, this is so off topic. I know you're probably really annoyed right now, Jimuphy.
No, this is amusing.
Should interracial porn be banned? I don't care about interracial stuff the way you guys care, but I do think pornography feeds the sin, and the more you think about pornography, the less you think about your wife and stuff.
See, I think it's one of those.
Interracialness doesn't bother me that much.
To be honest with you, I think it's another incarnation of the fallen.
Did you freeze? He just froze. I don't care about interracial stuff. I'll let my audience know as well. He's unfreezing. I do not like the constant perpetuating of like a toothbrush commercial. It's always a black woman and a white man. It is odd. I find that unusual because it's just everywhere now. Like if you go on Google and you write, actually, let me just do that experiment now while he's getting unfrozen. What happens if I go on Google and I write images? I go white couple. What happens? Okay, that's a white woman who's overly tanned herself. Hot black guy, pretty white woman. hot black woman, reasonably looking white guy, 2 black people, a nice looking black man with an old looking white woman. Okay, there's the first genuine white couple, another white couple, another white couple, hot black guy, white woman. So it's like, I love interracial marriage and stuff because I am the product of one, but it is unusual to me that all of that results in like, it's like there's an agenda and every single toothbrush commercial is aware of the perpetuating of this particular agenda. What if you're not married and your guest is another race? Should I still be banned? Awkward. No. That's funny. All right, so yeah, my guest has disappeared. So at the moment, it's just me. I saw my first photo the other day. I looked so young. It was so stupid, Dean. I need people like Dean in my life. He's like my phone friend. Every time I'm sad, he just picks up the phone and he makes me feel better. You're funny, Dean. All right, let's go up. Next guest on Dia's show should be Bearing. Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. If you're willing. Oh, you did a Lionhelm video. I'm pretty sure I would have seen it ages ago because all of your videos come up and I always watch them. Literally every single one. Just don't remember everything. That's right. You have a child with your woman is either half Asian or Asian. Is that correct? And you have a kitty and you have a dog. See? I'm either a stalker or a genuine fan. I'm mixed too, by the way, in case you don't know. I'm half Colombian, so half South American, and I'm half European. I like a strong black man. Hubba, hubba. See how quick he was to show me his muscles? He has a crush. Anyone have questions on topic? I mean, you can. It doesn't have to be on topic now that he's gone. I'm not sure if he's going to try and come back. He hasn't texted me. Has he texted me? Oh, no. He hasn't texted me. Okay. What are my favorite YouTube celebrities? Well, obviously I said Bearing was, and I'm not saying that because he's in the chat. Like, he was one of my first subs. Steven Crowder. I also like, I used to say this all the time when I first started doing my YouTube channel. Paul Joseph Watson was my future husband because he's got the big blue eyes and he's so cute. I don't love her. Okay, Jimuphy's back. I like watching, what's her name? Jacqueline Glenn. I don't agree with anything she says, but it's interesting to watch her perspective on things, and I think she's come a long way from being such a militant, hateful atheist, being lovely, kinder, more open woman. And I'll bring Jimuphy back. Hey!
How
you
doing?
Froze.
I did.
That's all right. I didn't even remember what we were talking about, but let's keep getting different people on. Maybe a giant smashed through his window and took him away.
A giant did, but I prevailed.
The strong black man.
I prevailed like a strong black man does. You know?
Yeah, man.
I'm back.
Do you know what one of my favorite movies forever is?
What's that?
Jamaica. Yeah, we have a bobsled team.
Actually, it's one of my
favorites.
No, it's one of my favorite as well. I love that movie. Absolutely.
I always say, because there are bad movies that people like. That's one of the bad movies that I really, really like. Because it's actually a lovely film, but I wouldn't say it's one of the best movies ever made the way like Avatar is. It's such a good movie.
I've got a question. For Port Film.
Okay. This guy.
What's a Weondo?
What's a Weondo? That's funny, man. When you go on a date, do you start talking about the giant stuff? No. I didn't even talk politics at work.
No. But we had this conversation yesterday, remember? Sometimes I do. And funny enough, it doesn't go down very well.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I think, yeah, if you're gonna, it's like a woman saying on her first date, okay, so how much money do you make? And I really want to have your babies, and like it's sort of similar to that. I
No,
mean,
this is
it
good. This is good
should be made
advice.
known early. It should be made known early, but not focused on heavily. Otherwise, it's off-putting.
Do you think that's where I'm going wrong then?
Well, if you're talking about that on your first date, unless she says, I love conspiracy theories, and then you can say, ooh, here's a good one.
Right,
I think giants once roamed the earth, sort of thing.
Oh, do you know what? This is what I'm trying to say, people. You learn new things all the time.
This is a Christian friend of mine. Do you consider that it could be as much of a deception to go beyond scripture and denying scripture?
Wow.
But I think he's unsure of us talking about giants. He thinks it's probably against biblical narrative.
Well, hang on a second. We pointed at two major things. Firstly,
I'm projecting. I think that's what he means. I could be wrong.
Okay. Either way, again, we have to reiterate that there is the biblical evidence that has been suppressed, that even Jesus Christ warned us about the deception, warned us to beware of this bloodline. We've got revelation that actually gave us a blessing if we were to understand what's written therein. So absolutely not. Only our enemies do not want us to understand this. Look, think about the great lengths they've gone to for literally thousands of years to conceal this.
Well, yeah, it has been thousands of years.
Yeah, absolutely. So clearly there's something that they don't want us to know. Clearly.
Oh, for sure. I agree, but there are many Christians who are very black and white Christians. For example, my friend Maddie of Maddie's Modern Life, he has a good YouTube channel. He's I don't know if you'd get annoyed at me for saying this, but I would call him his new a reinvigorated Christian. Like, he was a Christian in his past and he kind of didn't care for a while, and then he's touched with it. So there's nothing wrong with anything that he's done in that, but he's so anti every other version of the Bible. He's purely, King James Version Bible.
I know so many people like that.
He's too black and white with his Christianity, whereas I'm open enough to believe that we're giants and that other translations of the Bible aren't evil.
Let's be pretty clear about this. The scriptures are quite.
I still love Maddie.
The scriptures are quite clearly telling us that we need to be careful that we don't get sucked in by the deception, and the deception is right. Okay, so and also that we clearly need to be aware of the mark of the beast, which is all part of the same deception. So as Christians, and here's my question to you: what part of your life are you trying to make sure that you're not being deceived then, so that you don't take the mark of the beast? What part of your life are you when
we take the mark of the beast, it'll be too late though. We're not in that generation yet. That's probably our children's children.
No. See, I disagree with that. I disagree with that altogether, because here's the thing. And see, our enemy knows that, as you see, our enemy's been planning what we know today hundreds of years ago.
Of course, I'm aware. That's what the Jesuits, like, people think that the Catholic Jesuits are honorable, noble men, and maybe there are some factions that are, but most of these honorable people, they have in this series that I watched, they talk about how the Catholics, there's a mountaintop somewhere in America where some native tribes have a stargate. And again, for those who don't know what a stargate is, it's a spiritual portal or an interdimensional portal. For those who don't believe in the spiritual aspect of it, it's an interdimensional portal or something like that. And they didn't want the Catholics to build. I didn't even know this. I only found out today that Catholics have their own, Vatican has their own astrologists who have their own, telescopes and stuff. I didn't know the Catholics were buying land to have their own research. I did not know that until just today.
Yeah. In fact, the telescope is on Mount Graham.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So So the point I'm trying to make is this. Okay, the only people who are not prepared for the absolute whitewash of Christianity are Christians, because They've literally believed what the enemy's told them. Go back to bed, go back to sleep. Don't do any research on your Bible, right? Nothing to see here. Go back to sleep. Meanwhile, the enemy, who's extremely resourceful, numbers into the thousands, been planning for years. Okay, our downfall is very, very well prepared.
Yeah, fair enough. So this is what. So yeah. Hang on. Goliath symbolized something? I don't think so. It was just a giant. What did he symbolize?
Well, look.
Look, well, the story is about someone little defeating someone big for God.
But there you go. It's a bit like the story of go kill every man, woman, and child. You see, you're literally taking the meat and bones out of that story. Yes,
no, I didn't.
No, not you, but I'm saying in general, Christianity in general has done that. Yes,
but it's a good story. It's about a little guy having the strength to overcome a giant.
So but when you were first told that story, were you told, oh, he was actually a Nephillim?
No, I was told he was a giant. I now know that they descend from angels and humans. But like,
so where have we got to? How is it that we're told that story? We're now adults, and yet most of us have absolutely no connection with the Nephilim bloodline, that which will actually go and destroy us and destroy Christianity.
Because people don't want to. Because people think that's a passing verse in the Bible. Oh, Genesis chapter 6, and it was in those days that the angels of heaven came down and came upon the women. It's just a random verse to people. It doesn't make sense to them, and people don't realize.
But that's what we were told, isn't it? We're told it's just a random verse, and also it doesn't help. It doesn't help that we've got Christian leaders today who are in church, literally singing "Kumbaya." You know, go back to you come in on Sunday, go back. And yet, with every generation, with every Christian generation, we've slowly been moved towards a point where Christians will take the mark of the beast. It's a joke.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, regarding, I think that with people, a lot of Christians like to get funny about biblical history because, like, oh, if it's not in the Bible, I'm not going to believe it. The thing is, though, the book of Enoch used to be in the Bible. It was removed about 500 years ago. The book of Enoch still remains in the Ethiopian version of the Christian Bible. And the reason it was removed was because it was seen as too ridiculous sort of thing. We have to, by the way, go a little bit before 10:30 because my friend James Fox Higgins goes live after me tonight and I don't want to go into his time because I'm respectful that way. What denomination of Christianity is most sympathetic to your views on these giants? I don't know. I'm an independent thinker.
That's actually a fair question. I'm going to say...
Yeah, it's a fair question. I said I don't know.
Christians who... There are Christians... In fact, there are Christians around the world who...
We are a minority of Christians who believe this. You and I are a minority in Christianity.
Well, yes, it's true. And that's by design, isn't it? That is by design. I think the point,
I believe it too.
Exactly. So the point is, though,
non-denominational port film co-op.
Well, exactly. But I think the point to remember is this: that this information has been deliberately suppressed for the enemy's benefit, not for our benefit. So by not taking the time out to do your own due diligence, you're not protecting yourself. You're not doing your salvation any good. All right. Remember who it is you're up against. We're up against an extremely formidable opponent who, and call it that, but
globalist agenda. Let's say that that covers everyone. That covers the Illuminati, the Freemasons, the Vatican, the Jews, the that whatever.
How many trumpets? What's that?
I think because when we all die or something in the Bible, there's something about in the book of Revelations about trumpets being blown. I'm not really sure though.
Was it 3 trumpets? I think it's 3 trumpets.
Maybe it's 3. I don't know. I'm a bad Christian. I don't know everything.
Yeah.
I never claim to be a good Christian. It's others who say that I am, and then I'm like, I've never said that.
I just think that basically we're in a time where Christians, whether you want to believe this stuff or not, start doing your research. If we all believe that, oh well, hang on a second, there is a deception to try and withhold information for us, then what are you doing about it? What are you as Christians doing? If you're a pastor, what are you? Here's the thing I like about Pastor
A lot
Charles.
of pastors don't care to revisit this subject. They'll talk about the revelation, but why would they talk about giants? Maybe they haven't made the connection that giants are part of the end times.
They haven't made a connection. Absolutely.
No. Which is your favorite law of Noah? I didn't know law when Noah made laws. I thought, do you mean Moses? But if my favorite law is that it's a good commandment. We should all have arks. God commanded we all make arks. If you don't have an ark in your backyard, you are a bad Christian.
See, you might laugh at that, but I think that's a really good book. Your ark,
that's technically a commandment.
But here is it. But your ark in this case is knowledge. Doing our own research. That's our arc at this moment in time. Because when shit hits the fan, and if you're not clued up, you're going down with the shit. You are going down.
Well, this is why the story of Noah is so significant. And even this will sound so retarded to everyone watching, but I was watching Evan Almighty not that long ago, and I got a little teary. It's so stupid. I got a little teary, but the reason I got a little teary was because I don't know, I guess it's my little Christian spirituality that no one else would care. Like to see how everyone was mocking Christopher Carell's character, or whatever it is, Steve Carell's character, and everyone is like, oh my God, he's built an ark. Can you imagine how much Noah, if you believe the story, was mocked at the time, how stupid he must have felt for everyone mocking him, and then how great and how vindicated he was when they all died in the water? Like, honestly, and that's what Christians deal with. That's what we deal with every day. We deal with people thinking we're so stupid because we seem stupid to people. Not to say that everyone is.
But wait a second. If you understand that it's the enemy's objective that we sound stupid, then you got to ask yourself: well, I've got to do I've got to do the opposite of what the enemy is thinking and doing. It's as simple as that. So if the enemy thinks that I'm stupid, it must be I must be hitting the mark. Then that's the way I look at it. It's
very, you're right. It's very few, and it's like we do it too. Like I'm not going to sit here and say I don't sometimes think atheists are stupid for the things that they believe, or evolutionists. I do. The difference is that there is contempt towards Christianity. Like I don't walk around treating atheists individually like bad people. But collectively, Christians are seen as really, really dumb. And I'm not saying that everyone does that. I don't think all atheists do that. But it is definitely a reality that the Christian has to deal with. The Christian has to deal with someone going, oh, my God, she believes in creation instead of, science or whatever it is. And it's like, well, maybe your particular version of science doesn't really make sense to me. How does a dog become a cat? How does a cat become a gorilla? How does a gorilla become a human? Like, well, it took 40 billion years of this and this and this. And I'm like, yeah, nah.
Well, again, unfortunately, there is a lot of suppressed science. There's a lot of.
I'm well aware.
Right. So, and again, it's the ruling elite that will control what information the general public get to consume and what information they simply won't get anywhere near. Hence, like you mentioned before, the Smithsonian's hiding the bones of the giants, hiding. Right, So look, I still reiterate, I've been harping on about it all night long. You guys have got to go and do your own homework in light of the fact.
It's the best rabbit hole, guys, but right. if you're interested enough in the subject.
Exactly, but also in light of the fact that there are those keeping information away from you. Why is that?
Yeah,
you got to ask a question. It's as simple as that.
I will say this is episode 3, guys. Episode 3, the Holocaust of the Giants, and in it, they talk about how the Vatican is stealing biblical evidence, corroboration. In it, they also discuss it's probably episode 3 is probably the best one to get, but you should get all 3. I will add it into the description box below after. They talk about how people dug up in Sardinia. Or was it Malta? It was in Sardinia, the island of Sardinia. They found these giants, a whole grave site of giants, and they dug them up, and the next day they were gone. And it happened like 4 or 5 times in a row. All these giant bones just disappeared, and you know, it's pretty crazy. And they also talk about how Vatican is in on the future plan. Basically, the Vatican or the Catholic Church is trying to soften us as human beings to the concept of extraterrestrial life, whereas the Christian knows that extraterrestrial life is actually just fallen angels or whatever it is.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, and for those who want me to make the distinction, there's angels who live with God, and then there's Satan and his demons, and then there are these sort of middle ones. They're the fallen angels. So even though they are evil and they don't live with God, I don't think they necessarily work with Satan or the devil either, because they have their own agenda. So they're kind of, they don't want to work with Satan. So they kind of have their own agenda, I think. So yeah, I could be wrong. Maybe fallen angels is the same thing as a demon, but to me they're a different, slightly different designation, because
No,
they didn't work with Lucifer when he first went down to hell or whatever it was. It's my translation. Do you disagree?
I don't not so much I disagree. I don't.
Oh, you can. I don't care.
I don't concur with that. I think that okay. So firstly, demons are disembodied spirits of the Nephillim.
Yeah. I've seen that movie film called. Yeah. Are you frozen again?
No, I'm still moving.
Oh. Sorry. Yeah. Well, it's almost 10:30. So if there's anyone with no proper questions, we'll probably wrap up. Angels and aliens could be the same thing. It's primitive people describing them. I am primitive. I'm sorry.
Well, here's the thing. Our enemy would prefer that you call them aliens because then it cuts out the fact that there is a God and cuts out Jesus Christ. So look at the narrative and then look at what it is. Look at what the objective of that narrative is. Aliens, because ancient aliens, distant galaxies, whatever else. Great, because it means there's no God. Nephilim, fallen angels, interdimensional beings includes God for sure, because at the end of the day, He created all things.
Okay, so guys, in the chat right now, I've added a link, and this is the link to the guy that directed these docos. So if you guys want to watch my 4-part interview, when I got this interview, I got so excited. I don't know how it is I managed to get half of the famous people I get. I think it's just because I'm pretty belligerent and I don't leave them alone until I get my damn interview.
I thought you were going to say because you think you're pretty.
No, belligerent. I don't think I'm pretty. That's what you say to me. No, no kidding. But
No, I do. I do. I try and, but she doesn't believe me.
No, I'm not arrogant. So basically, I got this guy, this nice hot young one. No, that one. I got him on my channel like about 1.5 years ago to talk about angels. Yeah, Tim Alberino. It was crazy. I couldn't believe he said yes, but he actually said no originally. And then I went on a different Twitter page, like I used a different Twitter identity, and I spoke to him in Spanish because I didn't realize how fluent he was in Spanish. So I kind of used my in as a Latina. Even though he's not Latino, but he obviously spends so much time in South America. And then he goes, yeah, we'll do the interview. So when I finally had him on, he goes, oh, we're doing it in Spanish? I said, no, English. He goes, oh, I really wanted to do it in Spanish. So that's how I got him in my thing. I'll add it to the description box below. But yeah, I've been very sneaky with half of the guests. I had like a pussycat doll on my show, and her agent kept saying no until he said yes. And I'm going to get bearing soon.
Yeah.
Yay!
She told me that she'd go out on a date with me if I came on the show. That's why I came on. Clearly, you see? But fair enough. If you do what you do to get these guests, didn't you? Really?
Look, you're a hot black divorcee, but I mean, it's not Christian. But let me see your guns again. Let me see your guns again. I might change my mind.
The guns.
Check that out, everyone.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to finish up now. I'm just going to put up this one last question. Would Jimuphy be interested in a jelly wrestling competition with me? Charity, of course. I
Okay,
think that's a great idea.
Is that her in the picture?
That's hilarious.
My answer might be swayed either way depending on the answer.
Hey, don't be mean. A bearded woman can be hot. We're living in a time where you're not allowed to reject a woman with a beard or a man with boobs.
Oh. Can I put my answer offline then?
What does this mean? Hermeneutics. We need to get some better biblical hermeneutics. What's that word mean? You know?
Yeah, that's biblical references.
Oh, sorry, I thought I muted that and I didn't mute it. Well, the thing is, Benjamin, we have already referenced that the Bible itself talks about the book of Enoch, the book of Jasher, the book of Jubilees, is it? The Bible itself references it. I can text you those references after we get off. Yeah.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, we only had a limited amount of time. We're dealing with people who've never heard of this sort of stuff before. We're dealing with people who aren't Christian either. So how into the hermeneutics would you need to go before you alienate like 2/3 of the audience? Do you know
Well,
what
exactly.
I mean?
I'm actually really shocked that we had 30-ish people watching, because usually my numbers are at the most like daily 25, and we started off on 9, so it's not too bad. But my numbers were really big when I interviewed what's his name? Fraser Anning.
Oh, cool.
I had 6,000 watching me at one time. That was crazy. I've never had that before.
Really?
When I interviewed Fraser Anning, it was the most I'd ever had at one time of people watching me, and I was like, it was all right. We sang. I said, "Onward, Christian soldiers," and then Fraser Anning went, "Marching as." Sorry?
You did do that, did you?
I did. I sang with him. It was funny. It didn't. Yeah, it's still up there.
Wow. Okay.
What about the demon of Socrates in Plato's dialogues? You know who Plato is?
So what about it?
Oh, sorry, that's not to us. That's to Benjamin. Sorry, that wasn't supposed to be on the screen.
Okay, cool.
Well, anyway, guys, I think we got to go. Huh?
That's it. All good.
Yeah, that's it. So, hopefully some of you are interested enough in this subject that it'll take you down a rabbit hole.
Get the book of Enoch, get the book of Jasher, get the book of Jubilees. They all talk about this subject. And the book of Giants, is it?
The book of Giants, yeah, they found the book of Giants in the, what's the name of the secret sea scrolls?
And also there were fragments of Enoch in the Qumran caves.
Oh, there you go. No, Jupkek, I said I did know who Plato was, but I didn't know what the other person meant. Why, like, that was relevant. I do know who Plato is. Plato is one of the few references to the lost island of Atlantis. That's a rabbit hole I fell down years before the giant stuff. I've loved the story of Atlantis for so long.
Yeah, that's still a mystery, though, isn't it? Like,
they say, according to him, it's the island of Sardinia.
Oh, is that right?
He reckons, yeah, there was 10 kings. There was 10 kings in the island of Sardinia, and they had technology to sort of form the rocks together. But the problem was that the giants kept eating the people, if you believe that narrative. And so eventually, yeah, the giants just died out. Cool. There are still giants existing today, if you believe the Solomon Island.
What about Steve Quell's the giant of Kandahar?
Yes, actually, I think that's a good. Yeah, okay, guys, if you're interested, after this, please watch my friend James Fox Higgins on his own channel, The Rational Rise. But if you decide you want to start off on this giant rabbit hole, look up the giant of Kandahar. And if you don't think you can remember that, just write the giant of Afghanistan, and you'll Yeah, you'll see a 14-minute long video of really interesting stuff. Saddam Hussein is somehow involved, and
The American army.
the American government. Yeah, it's really crazy. It's so interesting. I've had so much fun. This is one of the funnest discussions I've had. I've been really sad lately, so it's really good to talk about things that I'm passionate about, as retarded as it is to the audience that I'm passionate about something so random like this. Next week, I think we'll go back to my regularly scheduled political program. I don't know who my guest is next week. Could be Baring, could be my friend Dean. I usually have my guests lined up a week in advance. I just haven't. I've had other things in mind, as you all know. But yeah, see, no kitty cat walking behind me, randomly smelling me. Anyway, by the way, your background with the DJ stuff and the city in the background, you've had the best background of any guest I've ever seen. What a beautiful, what beautiful views. You're very lucky.
I like it.
You have a good life there.
It's not bad.
Well,
it's not.
You wouldn't have it if you weren't living in Melbourne.
No,
you probably would if you were living in New York or London, I suppose.
No, this is New York. This is New York.
No, it's not. Yeah, I almost believed you. I was like, that's why his internet froze.
Moving in there, like, wait a second, is it? Somewhere in the midst of Melbourne, that's where I am.
Yeah.
I don't want any girl knocking on my door.
Exactly. Nah, you have a good little life there, it seems. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. Please stay tuned for the Rational Rise, which is just write the Rational Rise on Google, and if you don't like to be preached at, then don't watch my friend, but he's a pretty good guy. And subscribe to Baring's channel. And all right, guys, thank you so much, and thank you so much, Jimuphy, for coming on my show. I'm glad we were able to do a show that I didn't have to delete for the purely disgusting audio. Like, this was a good show. It was engaging, and I'll leave it up. I'll leave this up for a few days until BitChute has itself backed it up. If it doesn't back it up, I'll load it off my channel and place it onto BitChute at a later stage.
Sounds good. Take care, dear.
No worries. Take care, everyone. God bless you all.
Bye.
End broadcast.